The CEO has promised that any increase in revenues from investments in 2008 will go toward increasing the R&D budget. Assume that revenues from investment increased by 40% from 2007 to 2008, and that these additional funds are the only change to the R&D budget. By what percent does the R&D budget increase? So we're saying that these revenues, $53,000, increased by 40% from 2007 to 2008. I'm just going to approximate that as 50. And of course, let's see, 10% of 50 is 5, 20% of 50 is 10, so that means 40% of 50 is 20. So it goes from 50 to 70, and this additional $20,000 goes into R&D. So R&D gets an additional $20,000, and that $20,000 is an increase of what percent? In other words, what is the percent of 20 over 75? Now, you might be tempted to reach for your calculator again, but let's slow this down. Let's think about this. 75, 10% of 75 is 7.5. 20% would be twice that, 15. If we add another 7.5, that would be 30%. 22.5. So it means that 20 is somewhere between 20% and 30%, because this is 10%, 20%, and 30% of 75. So we need an answer between 20 and 30, closer to 30, and that very accurately describes the correct answer choice D. Profit equals revenue minus cost. Cost remains constant from 2007 to 2008, and if revenues increased by 10% in that period, by what percent will profits increase in that period? So right now, current data is 2007. Here's the cost, here's the revenues, so the profit is the difference. The difference is 300. Of course, that would be 300,000 because these numbers are in thousands. Now, we'll say that the revenues increased by 10%, so we'll just estimate. It's about 1,000. We'll go up to about 100 more. We can say 105. So that's how much revenues will increase. Costs are going to stay the same. And so now, instead of being a difference of 300, it's going to be more like a difference of 400. We'll just estimate it at 400. And so if we increase from 300 to 400, how much are we increasing? Well, that's an increase of 1/3. And 1/3 as a decimal is 33 1/3%. So because it's a little more than 100, we expect something slightly more than 33 1/3. And in fact, answer choice C is precisely that.
We have the revenues and the costs in thousands of dollars for a certain company in the year 2007. Now, in the year 2008, the sales are the same value. What is that value? That value is this, many number of thousands of dollars. And half of this number are directly due to the 2007 investment in R&D. And the investment in R&D is $75,000. Then the revenue received from these sales, which is half of this number, would be what percent greater than the money invested in R&D, which is this number. Now, half of 753,000 is 376,500. So we are trying to answer the question, this number, 376,500, is what percent greater than 75,000. This is the question we are trying to answer. Before we try to answer this question, let's try and answer a simpler question with simpler numbers. Let's say we want to find out 60 is what percent greater than 50. Well, to find that out, the difference between 60 and 50 is 10, and 10 is 20% of 50. So we say 60 is 20% greater than 50. So how did we find it out? Well, what we did was 60 minus 50, that's 10. The difference over 50 times 100. And that would give us 20%. So this one is going to be 376,500 minus 75,000 over 75,000 times 100. We can take out the zeros from the end from all these three numbers, meaning we are dividing the numerator and the denominator with 100. So these two zeros gone, these two zeros gone, and these two zeros gone. So this leaves us with 3,765 minus 750 over 750 times 100. So we have 3,015 on the top and 750 on the bottom, multiplied with 100. When we simplify this, we get 402. So this is the right answer.
The costs associated with insurance and physical plant are what percentage of the total cost? So here the costs associated with insurance and physical plant, and we want to know that is what percent of these total costs here. So you might be tempted to reach for a calculator, but let's do some approximation. If we just do a one-digit approximation, that would be 1/7, which is about 14%. If we take the first two digits, 12 over 74, well, that's not too far away from 12 over 72, which of course is 1/6, and that's about 16%. And so right away we're seeing these approximations are honing in on a single answer choice, and in fact that's the correct answer choice B. Investments and subsidiary revenues combined constitute what percent of total revenue? So we want to know if we add these two numbers up, that's what percent of this number? Well, I'm going to approximate here. 50 plus about 250, that's about 300. So 300 out of 1,000, that's something very close to 30%. So looks like we have a couple things that maybe are close to 30%, one a little more than the other. Well, let's think a little more carefully. This is slightly less than 100, and this is slightly more than 1,000. So if we make the top of a fraction a little smaller, the bottom of a fraction a little bigger, that makes the fraction slightly smaller. And so we definitely have something that is slightly less than 30%, and that very accurately describes answer choice D. Profit is the difference between revenue and cost. If profits increased 20% from 2006 to 2007, the difference between this year's profit and last year's profit is how much? So, first of all, the profit for this year, 2007, is this number minus this number. And I'm going to estimate that approximately 1050 minus 750. So we're going to say profit this year is about 300. This is the 2007 profit. So the 2006 profit would be increased by 20%. And when we increase it by 20%, or in other words, when we multiply by 1.2, it equals 300. Remember that a 20% increase, we can express that as a multiplier, 1.2. And so what this means is that X, this is the profit in 2006, should be 300 divided by 1.2. We'll divide top and bottom by 3. We get 100 over 0.4 divided by 4. We get 25 over 0.1, and of course dividing by 0.1, or 1/10, is the same as multiplying by 10. So this is 250. So profit last year 250, profit this year 300. So that means that the difference between them should be about 50. Of course, these are all in thousands of dollars. So about $50,000 difference in profit, and that leads us to answer choice A.